The true story behind The Exorcist. In 1949, priests performed an exorcism on a boy referred to as Roland Doe, aka Ronald Hunkler, in a chilling ordeal that became the real-life inspiration for The Exorcist. In the picturesque Belnor neighborhood of St. Louis, Missouri, sits a beautiful, colonial-style house on Roanoke Drive that was once the home of a boy called Roland Doe, aka Robbie Mannheim or Ronald Hunkler. It looks normal on the outside, with an all-brick exterior and white shutters framing the windows. Huge trees and neatly manicured bushes dot the yard. Yet one of the most extraordinary horror stories in American history transformed this house into a landmark for the macabre and provided the true story of The Exorcist. The story began in January 1949 in Washington, D.C., where 13-year-old Ronald Hunkler, aka Roland Doe, began exhibiting disturbing behavior that left his parents baffled and terrified. He was calm and normal during the day, but at night, he would suddenly erupt into screaming fits and other wild outbursts. Meanwhile, he would enter a trance-like state, make sounds in a guttural voice, and break out in scratches and red lines all over his body. After getting nowhere with doctors, his horrified parents brought him to where their relatives lived in St. Louis and called in Jesuit priests to carry out a harrowing series of exorcisms. As they desperately tried to wrest the demons from his body, they claimed that the boy's bed moved on its own, slid violently across the room, and knocked them over. Finally, on April 18th, the priests laid holy relics and crucifixes upon Ronald, shouting at Satan and telling the demon that Saint Michael would battle him for the boy's soul. 7 minutes later, Ronald came out of his trance and told them simply, "He's gone." The other story of what happened to Roland Doe. He was despondent over the loss of his beloved Aunt Harriet. Harriet was a spiritualist who'd taught him many things, including how to use a Ouija board. In early January 1949, shortly after Harriet's death, Ronald Hunkler began to experience strange things. He heard scratching sounds coming from the floors and walls of his room. Water dripped inexplicably from pipes and walls. Most troubling of all was that his mattress would suddenly move. Disturbed, Ronald's family sought the help of every expert they knew. The family consulted doctors, psychiatrists, and their local Lutheran minister, but they were no help. The minister suggested that the family seek the assistance of the Jesuits. Father E. Albert Hughes, the local Catholic priest, asked his superior's permission to perform an exorcism on the teenager in late February of 1949. The church granted Hughes' request. For the exorcism, Hughes strapped the boy to the mattress and began his recitations. But he had to stop the rite when Ronald broke off a piece of the mattress spring and slashed the priest across his shoulders, leaving the exorcism unfinished. A few days later, red scratches appeared on Roland Doe. One of the scratches formed the word Louis, which indicated to Ronald's mother that the family needed to go to St. Louis, where the Hankerers had relatives, to find a way to save their son. More help arrives for Ronald Hunkler. A cousin of the family was attending St. Louis University at the time of Ronald's struggles. They put Hankerer in touch with Father Walter H. Halloran and Reverend William Bowdern. After consulting with the university's president, these two Jesuits agreed to perform an exorcism on young Ronald with the help of several assistants. The men gathered at the residence on Roanoke Drive in early March of 1949. There, the exorcists witnessed scratching on the boy's body and the mattress moving violently. These were the same types of things that had happened in Maryland when the first exorcism failed. Amid these bizarre happenings, Bowden and Halloran, according to their reports, noticed a pattern in Ronald's behavior. He was calm and normal during the day. But at night, after settling in for bed, he would exhibit strange behavior, including screaming and wild outbursts. Ronald would also enter a trance-like state and start making sounds in a guttural voice. The priests also said they saw objects mysteriously flying in the boy's presence and noted that he would react violently when he saw any sacred object presented by the attending Jesuits. At one point during this weeks-long ordeal, Bowden reportedly saw an X appear in scratches on Ronald's chest, which the priest believed signified the number 10. In another incident, a pitchfork-shaped pattern of red lines moved from the boy's thigh and snaked down towards his ankle. These types of things happened every night for more than a month. Once, a red X appeared on Ronald's chest, leading the priests to believe he was possessed by 10 demons. The two priests never gave up as they continued the exorcism night after night. On the evening of March 20th, the exorcism reached an unhealthy new level. Ronald urinated all over his bed and began shouting and cursing at the priests. Now, Ronald's parents had had enough. They took him to Election Brothers Hospital in St. Louis for more serious treatment. Finally, on April 18th, a miracle occurred in Ronald's room at Election Brothers. It was the Monday after Easter, and Ronald awoke with seizures. He yelled at the priests, saying that Satan would always be with him. The priests laid holy relics, crucifixes, medals, and rosaries on the boy. At 10:45 p.m. that evening, the attending priests called on Saint Michael to expel Satan from Ronald's body. They shouted at Satan, saying that Saint Michael would battle him for Ronald's soul. 7 minutes later, Ronald came out of his trance and said, "He's gone." The teenager recounted how he had a vision that Saint Michael vanquishing Satan on a great battlefield. What do you believe was happening to Ronald?